Hello.
Hello.
Hey,
So
hey.
I'm the only one that's dressed up for Halloween. That's cool.
Uh,
I'm Princess Leia. For
you
all of
look
you
very
guys
Princess Leia.
that can't see my earmuffs under my other earmuffs, I was gonna get one of my guns, but I was like, that's probably not that's probably not super appropriate for the podcast, so I refrained. But
My ears on.
beautiful.
I don't know how.
There you go.
Elfie. Oh man, I missed them up. I have a cowgirl hat. I guess that could be my costume if we're going in costume here. Go get the cowgirl hat. All right.
Go get the hat.
I'm gonna figure
Go
out how
get
to
the
put
hat.
these. Here. I am. Hello. How
Hello.
are you?
Doing pretty good. Feeling a lot better. I was like sick yesterday, just feeling really, really run down and lethargic. My lymph nodes were like swollen as fuck. I don't know if you watched like That's So Raven as a kid, but that one like she had like an allergic reaction to I think shellfish and she like blew the
Yes.
fuck up. That's what my lymph nodes fucking felt like yesterday, and I was so tired.
No. That's. I think I might be getting an ear infection.
Dude.
I had tubes in my ears like at least twice. It might have been 3 times as a kid. They were okay. I love us. We're so cute.
Love that for
I have
us.
a Corona hat. I don't know, but that's okay. It's okay. And then last year, I had an ear infection around the same time. Um, but I was in prep and my eardrum ruptured, and I was like,
Fuck.
"Can you hear okay?" I guess. I mean, my ear, my ears are pretty big. Um, And my hearing was off though when it ruptured, and I was like, "I don't wanna
Yeah.
take antibiotics, I'm 4 weeks out." So I just was, like, dealing, and Garrett was like, "How do you know your eardrum ruptured? Wouldn't that really hurt?" I'm like, "It really hurt." Yeah, I'm very aware of that fit sensation. Have you had ruptured eardrums as well? No, but I was also the kid that had severe ear infections every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an adult, like, why is this happening now? Like, what? Like, can I get tubes now?
Yeah.
Happy
I
Halloween.
get that. Yeah, happy Halloween. Do you guys pass out candy or anything?
I don't really get trick-or-treaters because I'm in a, like, technically a condo, so we're the 3rd floor. Um, so nobody will come to us per se because 'cause we're
Hmm.
not at the bottom, but I'm gonna go to my parents' house and see my niece dressed up.
Cute.
We usually do pass out candy, but we're going to a theme park with Olivia and her husband, like, with haunted houses and roller coasters, which cool.
That's fun.
I haven't been to one of those in years, like decades. So I'm gonna be interested to see how I handle being constantly. I love that. I think it's so fun to play and like go do stuff like that. I'm excited. I love roller coasters. Now
Mina, maybe you'll get like tossed around for roller coasters and it'll like fix your sciatica.
that that was fun. Once Garrett's like, I'm not getting on any roller coasters because he's 6 weeks out and he doesn't want to like have any flare ups of any kind. Not that he has sciatica, but and Olivia's like, is it one
Well,
of
yeah, but he has no ass fat, so he's gonna like break his fucking
that
tailbone.
too? But Olivia's That's true husband too.
Well,
doesn't like roller coasters. So Olivia and I are like, we'll go on roller coasters. You guys like go get a Diet Coke.
yeah. Well, didn't Paul also like I mean, not like very recently, but didn't
About a
he like
year
fuck
ago,
up his knees or something like
he broke
that?
both of his legs.
Yeah.
And I think he tore both of his quads.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
don't blame him for like not wanting that extra fucking gyration.
Then super bad. I mean, he's competed since, but he had a pretty miraculous comeback for all things considered. I think he tore both of his ACLs or something. I don't know exactly. Something crazy like that to then be in the hospital, bedridden for quite some time, and got up and at him and right back to it. Very happy.
Yeah, very, very. Well, if you're new here to the Physique Forum, welcome. Happy Halloween. I am the full-size candy bar house, and this year I stepped up my game. I got over 100 full-size candy bars from like the Hershey's, the Mars. I even got fucking Skittles and Starburst. If you're one of those nerds that doesn't like chocolate but prefers fruit candy, so I
You
got you
slow your
covered.
roll.
I love a fruit candy pod.
Me
Like I do
too.
like chocolate.
I think you both are squares, and you are a weaker species if you prefer candy that is fruit flavored over fucking chocolate.
I was never. I was never a chocolate person. I'm still not.
Dude, I would shove a Twix bar up my asshole right now. Like, I love Twix.
I don't even think I've ever had one, to be honest.
Ash, I
Yeah.
know you don't do the flavored cream of rice, but I've been mixing the caramel with the cookie with the chocolate to make like a Twix flavored bowl of cream.
Mina, I don't do flavored cream of rice because I don't have the money for 540 grams of carbs. Like, the amount of cream of rice I would need to match that.
That's Garrett recently
I'm gonna
started
be.
eating the cream of rice, and I'm like, I just bought this shit like a few weeks ago. We need more.
I'm gonna be honest. I tossed the cookies and cream one because I thought it sucked.
You could have sent it to me. I was poor. I'm poor. I'm not picky. God damn it.
It would have cost me as much to send it to you as I paid to buy it.
I would have paid for it.
Yeah, it wasn't my.
Wasn't your mamma jamma.
I didn't like it at all, and I'm one of those people that like. There's very few things I actually look forward to, so I want something I like if I'm gonna be eating it all the time.
Laura's like, I have such little joy in my life right
Look,
now that if my cream of rice fucking sucks, I'm throwing it away.
bad day. Yeah, that's where we're at right now. It'll get better, but we're there.
Now,
I love
question,
it.
does it make
I
me
love it.
cheap or resourceful that I got a grocery delivery? They gave me some extra items, and there was a box of Gushers in there. And like, I'm like, if I do get any
Gushers.
trick or treaters before we leave, they're getting Gushers.
That is like so third grade.
And I would have been stoked if I got a pack of Gushers.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I haven't had Gushers since I was in probably third grade, but like that's
Yeah.
what nostalgic brings me back to.
They are gluten free. I was looking at the label. I'm like, maybe I'll have like a little pack. And then it was like red 40, yellow 7, like it just the ingredients. I'm like, actually, I don't. But maybe.
We're all gonna die somehow. It's fine.
That's what I'm saying. And speaking of, that's a great segue. No, it's not. It's a terrible segue. But no,
Awesome.
like talking about like our episode, Mina, and obviously all the PED episodes that Laura and I have done about like female PED realities got a lot of positive exposure and engagement because like even though we are open about PED usage, I don't think a lot of people are open about like the reality and the cause of effect, both positive and negative. And that episode did really, really well. So I think it's also worth the discussion of our next topic, talking about like having the HRT conversation, the TRT conversation when it comes to replacing hormones and kind of busting through this myth that you don't have to just do HRT or TRT after the change or after menopause. Because I feel like that's something that isn't discussed enough, especially in this physique enhancement realm where as females, like let's be honest, like to where the division is across bodybuilding, like females are not meant to be overly muscular and dick skin lean, right? Like evolutionary wise, like female bodybuilding is like a very much like first world type of thing because not only is it expensive, but you are asking a lot of your physiology and quite frankly your psychology, which is why like when you are working with females, you'll notice a lot of sex hormone suppression and adrenal dysfunction because this is a very high stress environment when it comes to, asking a lot of our bodies in the gym, periods of contest prep where we are restricting, doing high amounts of cardio. Like, if your body's so fucking stressed out, it doesn't want to have a baby. You know what I'm saying? And if you do it repetitively, depending upon like your body's resiliency and recovery and also your age and your genetics when it comes to your ovarian health, it is something where it is worth talking about going on HRT and TRT, especially if you have decided that you want to be an enhanced athlete for the long term. But I would love to hear first Laura's thoughts because I know that Laura has asked a lot of her body, and since she is older than both Mina and myself, her decision to use HRT, especially because I know fertility health is really important to you.
Sure. So, just a little backstory on me from 27 to 35. I'm now 38. I had no menstrual cycle. And that was during the time that I was like show after show after show after show and didn't really know well enough, at least early on, mid 30s or so, I started to know, but honestly didn't quite care to the extent that I should have initially. Um, and then around like 33, I was like, okay, like, my guts shit, my hormones are shit. I know I want kids someday. I need to try to, get my health optimal without all of this chaos. So I took, actually, it was 32. Yeah. So I took 3 years off of competing. I let my body fat like get to a point that was healthy body fat for me. I don't think that the weight was really the issue ever, to be honest. I think it was just the level of yo-yoing and extreme stress from competing and honestly mental stress too, because my mental health was shit. It was like 2020. Um, that I finally got my period back naturally without taking anything. And that was a goal for me because I did not want to try to go down the HRT route until I felt as though did all I could naturally. So after 2 years of having a period that, by lab work, I was still in postmenopause ranges for things and felt as though I was in postmenopause with the period that was taking place. I kind of sat down with myself and had that, you know, conversation that this isn't how I want to live. This isn't realistically a quality of life that I think anyone should be having, especially after spending the time to correct the lifestyle habits and still feel like dog shit. So I did make the decision to go forward with using HRT. I will say that what I was initially suggested to use was way too high for me. And I had to advocate for myself, even though I got pushback telling me that, I was wrong, that my HRT being prescribed was literally double what I felt good on once reducing it. Um, and if you are making the decision to go the HRT route, know that there's a few factors you need to keep in mind. One is how you feel, where your lab work is, and then what it's doing to affect your quality of life. For me, and this is TMI, but if you're listening to the podcast, you can hear it. I was like bleeding out periods. Mine was so heavy from taking 100 milligrams of progesterone. So I was using testosterone and progesterone. And I knew that my periods had never been like that before. And I had 2 years worth of periods to compare to. And the only thing I had changed was that. So going back and saying, I understand this is a starting dose, but this just isn't right for me. And then once reducing it to 50, I felt significantly better. I was having normal menstrual cycles. My, sex drive was back to normal. I started feeling really good. So don't let someone tell you because, recommended doses is X, Y, and Z. This is what you have to do. Advocate for yourself, know how you feel, know how you should be feeling, and kind of go from there. And then one
Mhm.
other thing I will say with HRT that is kind of fear mongered is if you start it, it's, you can never be without it. And that's not true. If you are deciding at some point, I don't want to keep up with this, finances doesn't allow me to, maybe I need to come off to conceive, whatever the case, you're going to go back to somewhere close to what you were at from your natural hormone production levels and not feel like you did when being supported, or if you want to call it enhanced, whatever. And that's okay. But don't feel like, this has to be a death to us part decision if that's not right for you.
Mhm. Yeah, I do think it's worth noting that, like, there is a difference between HRT that are bioidentical, meaning very similar to, like, what your body makes, and then hormonal birth control, right? These are 2 very separate things, 2 very separate, reactions and processes in the body, but both, since you're adding exogenous hormones into your body, are going to change and alter how your body reacts, right? It is going to cause some level of suppression and reaction depending upon, what hormone you are using and what type of hormone it is, and even the modality, quite frankly. So I do think it's really important to discuss that we are talking about HRT when it comes to replacing progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone, not hormonal birth control. That can be a different podcast and a different conversation. Um, I know Mina spoke on the fact that she actually doesn't use TRT. She does have PCOS, which is a medical health condition, and her hormone status is pretty resilient when it comes to competing. So Mina is not on any HRT to my knowledge. Is that correct?
Not at this point. I did have to use progesterone back in 2021, just because my like it was less than 1.1 gram. And I did use 200 milligrams, and that was what worked for me. But through like naturopathic remedies and lifestyle changes, I was able to get my progesterone up naturally. It's not something I have to use. But at the point when I was taking like my normal production started up and I was still taking 200 milligrams, like I was having terrible periods. I was exhausted all the time. Like I was sleeping like 14 hours a day and taking 2 naps. And I was like, something's not right here. And so I went and got blood work done. I'm like, oh, okay. Like my progesterone's like 35. So we probably don't need this anymore. So, but that's been my only real experience with HRT other than working with clients and like trying, doing all the natural things we can to fix their hormones from a natural place. And then after about like a year or so, I'm like, okay, let's have a conversation.
Right, absolutely. And then I'll kind of discuss my HRT, and then I want to talk about more of those natural remedies because I do think it is something that coaches are just kind of maybe too quick to jump the gun, especially for younger female athletes, because you should consider their age as well as their goals, not only in bodybuilding, of course, and having those real and serious conversations, but also life outside of bodybuilding, right? Like these are things that these are like, these are drugs, these are hormones, and it's something where you need to have a real, honest to God discussion about what they do in the short term. And then to Laura's point, also what they do in the long term when it comes to either needing to be on them or at least ways where you can kind of jumpstart things again to get your natural production up and started. But to give a background, like I am 29 and I'm on full hormone replacement due to the fact of me being, quite frankly, a silly fucking goose when it comes to exercise addiction, anorexia. You know, first started my period at the age of 10, severe estrogen dominance issues in both my mother and my grandmother, to where like pregnancies as well as hysterectomies were just kind of common things. Not to mention issues with the gallbladder. And so if you're, you know, fully reversed on like how estrogen influences gallbladder health and liver health, like that's also something to consider. But due to how I treated my body, being morbidly obese, losing half my body weight in less than a year, being on hormonal birth control to regulate my period at, I want to say like 15 or 16, and being on for quite some time, it's like, like most of the ladies and females watching, it's like my body's been through some fucking shit, right? And then to Laura's point, when things stopped back for me in 2019 and never restarted, even after using anabolics, abusing them, and then also using them, like things never came back for me. And I did slow down. I did do the things where it's like you stopped, you know, getting 30,000 fucking steps in a day. You stopped training 7 days a week, even though one of your rest days was abs and arms. Like, you know, you went into therapy, you ate real fucking food. You didn't just like macro hack or do any of the other bullshit stuff that I did. It's like you got real with yourself and being like, hey, how you're treating your body, the reason why your hormones are tanked, the reason why you feel like dog shit is because of you. So it's like you need to get real as to like the lifestyle habits and how you're treating yourself and what you're thinking about yourself before doing anything else. And so even after trying to do things naturally to restart things, like I just felt like dog shit. And I was like, what do I want my life to look like? Do I want to just feel like dog shit for the rest of my life? Or do I want to receive help from HRT? And I, you know, opted for the HRT route because Eric and I do not want children. And although he got a vasectomy, so we're not worrying about like not getting pregnant, it's like, I don't want to feel like dog shit, right? And even if I don't ever compete again, I still don't want to feel like fucking dog shit, right? So I had to accept what I did to myself, which that was fucking hard. That was hard to accept. But also, I didn't want to accept it continuing to feel like dog shit and kind of beating my head against a wall when things likely aren't going to start up for me naturally. Now, thankfully, like nowadays, like, yes, we have HRT, but we also have like more robust protocols, HCG, even like ovarian bioregulators to help with these, in-depth and complex things. And so don't hear what us three are talking about and feeling like you have to be on HRT, because I think this would be a great time to open up the discussion of, well, how do we get things back online after years, maybe not even months, years of dormancy? And I think Laura would be a great person to kind of kick us off there.
Well, one other thing I was actually going to bring up is looking back on my decision making, I don't regret it. However, I do think that if I hadn't decided that I still wanted to pursue competing, I would not have started HRT. And I also think that with a little bit more time than I had already spent, I probably would have seen the improvements without using it. Kind of like what Mina was saying that, initially she needed it and then realized that she didn't need it anymore. I started having similar symptoms to that, which was part of why the dosing started higher and then came down lower. And my lab works also displayed the fact that things were starting to improve naturally as well. So could it have fully? Maybe, most likely, yes. But knowing that the competing yo-yo was still going to kind of happen because I wasn't quite ready to retire, it made more sense to do that. As far as naturally goes, I think that a lot of it is lifestyle. I would say a big part of it is mental health, um, more than anything. And I've worked with several clients through this, myself through this, and the biggest common denominator that I see is starting to let go of what we feel is control to sort of let life happen. You can't manipulate every tiny little factor between, your training, your nutrition, being so obsessive compulsive, micro calculating every fucking number and gram of food that you eat. Like you see a common trait with all of these women that have these same type of issues is it's this like hyperfixation up for control, and you look for it in all different avenues, and you don't realize that because you're in your own body, you hear your own mind, you hear your own thoughts 24/7, that is what's sabotaging your body to be able to improve. Very rarely, if someone is past the point of actual eating disorder, that they're willing to eat and consuming variety of nutrients and all of that, is it solely a calorie intake thing. It's more common that it's the, anxious movement and the mind spiraling and all of that type of things, which are honestly even more difficult to improve than just a physical act of eating more and doing a little bit less.
Exactly, exactly. Like, it's really about, like, those anxious steps. That's a big one, but especially, like, the mental component. A book that I'm reading that I've recommended also to a lot of my clients is Nothing Changes Until You Do. And it is kind of like retraining your brain when it comes to not identifying with how much you do, or like who you help, or your productivity list or anything like that, and learning to just like be okay with being who you are. Now that doesn't mean that you just like have these like terrible personality traits and that you're like, oh, accept myself, and you're still a fucking bitch. Like, no, like you can be a good person and know that you have faults and work on them without thinking that you're a constant broken person that will never be fixed, and continue to do these kind of like self sabotage tendencies when it comes to wanting to control things, or, wanting to go to food when it comes to like your restriction, or even like to use it as a dependency for coping. Right? Like, you could still not have a period and be fat, right? So it's not just like not having your period. It's not just like a body weight issue. That can be part of it when it comes to your stress, but it's learning like, why is your body stressed? Like, why is your brain no longer connecting well to your ovaries and having that signal, right? Because it is one of those things where a lot of this is biofeedback related, but biofeedback does not just stem to like how your weight fluctuates or your resting heart rate or any of that stuff. It's also like thinking about like the internal feedback mechanisms of, again, going back to what I said earlier, why does your body not feel safe enough to have a baby? Right? Like, again, like it is very, very primal. It is not personal, but it is still your personal responsibility to figure out how you can optimize things. And so mental health is going to be a huge one, whether it is going into therapy, getting a support group, reading books, like however you need to figure out how to get right with yourself. That's going to be step one. And then it's working with, maybe a doctor, maybe a dietitian, a functional health coach that is very knowledgeable on hormones and lab work to see like what is going on internally. Is it a micronutrient deficiency? Is it a gut issue? Is it an adrenal issue? And there are protocols and supplements in place to help jumpstart things. But they are not going to be a prayer and a saving grace if you're not first doing the inner work to get right with yourself.
I would also be very selective when you are going to different doctors, even naturopaths, as to what you're receiving for answers. Because when I was going through this initial journey of trying to get my body right and all of that, I was seeing someone in Boston hospitals, the best of the best, whatever. And the reaction at that time was, oh, you just need to gain body fat. You just need to be fatter. You need to eat more, blah, 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 blah. And that really wasn't the answer for me. And maybe sometimes it is. But I think that you need someone that's a little bit more receptive to feedback and understanding you as a person and maybe knowing your history a little bit more to know that there's more to it than just the fact that your body weight impacts a period.
Absolutely.
Thing I've struggled with from a coaching standpoint is getting people to accept like there's not like when we're going down this naturopathic like yes, there's so many supplements we can take, but I'm like, hey, you're stressed. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm like, okay, well, all of your biofeedback is suggesting that you are. Your fasted blood glucose is 96. You're on slow digesting carbs. They're paired with fats. Your carbs aren't super high. You're using Burbean and all these other things. Like, there's only so much I can do in my position until you accept, like, hey, I'm not okay. Like, I think that is the very, very first step. Beyond going, like, okay, I'm going to go down this path and be like, hey, like, I do need, I am actually even like when talking, like I use a check in with like 1 to 10, how's your stress this week? I mean, it says a 4, but everything else is telling me that's like a 7 or 8. You're just so used to being all the way up here with anxiety and stress that you no longer have an actual gauge of how to be. So
hmm
it's like, again, I don't know if you've experienced the same thing. I'm like, trying to like, "Hey, I know I've been in your shoes. You're not okay, but you think that you are because you almost have nothing else to compare it to because you've been this way for so long."
I think a lot of that is social media related because you see so much fake happiness and success and, these women posting physiques that are digitally and enhanced and changed and whatever. And you start to think in your mind, like, well, I should be able to live like that, or I should be able to maintain that, or so and so's life is so perfect. Why is, and it doesn't give you a clear reality of, what you should be trying to achieve and what is realistic for you as a person. I think about that a lot, especially like being a little older than you guys. When I was in high school, like social media wasn't even a thing. And the comparison thing, I wish it was still like that to an extent because you didn't know and what you didn't know did not hurt you. And nowadays it's impossible to not feel like that.
Yeah. Social media will never give you a clear picture of your reality. It
No.
won't. It won't, right? And that's something where it is so important to understand that social media can be a good thing and also it can also be a bad thing. It just depends upon how you're utilizing that tool, right? So if you have to unfollow people, mute people, delete the whole fucking app off your phone. Like Instagram is not a requirement for being a human being. I think that needs to be said. It's not a requirement to be a bodybuilder. It's not a requirement as even hate to say as an entrepreneur because it is so important to have some level of presence, but let your results with your clients speak through themselves. And like, I get it's going to be slower if you're not using social media, but if you truly cannot handle it, like, it doesn't necessarily need to be your path to success. That's also why I really like the book that I mentioned because, like, it literally is talking about everything that, like, Laura had mentioned about social media and, like, finding happiness within how you say, not what you are told in social media, other people, like the news, like, what truly makes you happy and focusing on that. And that is a very, very important part when it comes to reestablishing and retraining your brain to get your menstrual cycle back on track. And I do think it's also worth noting that, like, we see a lot of females lose their periods during prep. And that is going to be, yes, psychological, but also just due to what prep is with the severe restriction of food, less nutrients going in, body fat, absolutely, and over expenditure. But the conversation that we're talking about in HRT doesn't need to extend to just prep, right? We're talking about like HRT beyond, like, again, like what Laura mentioned, of body fat being like the sole driver. Because normally, like a well executed prep and reverse, you should get your period back, not necessarily like relatively quickly, but some can get it back well within 1 to 3 or 4 months. But if it's longer than 4 months, and like your body fat as is at a level that like it needs to be at for just proper hormone functioning, this is like thinking about, okay, what's really going on, like why is your body not restarting? And of course a lot of that is more complicated when it comes to like how many preps have you done, like how old you are, and again just your general stress resiliency as a female. But don't just view like, oh, I haven't got my period back, this is normal, because it's like, a period is a very important vital sign for female health and female, yes, reproduction, right? But it's like even thinking about like if you're not having a consistent period, then you're also going to be limiting your muscle growth, which that is a primary concern as physique athletes, is if we're not able to grow muscle in an optimal state, like that fucking sucks because we're busting our ass in the gym and outside of the gym to optimize muscle growth. And if your hormones are not optimized, then I would argue that your muscle growth is not going to be optimized either.
Speaking of muscle growth with that, I think that's something else to consider before, say you are an enhanced athlete, you're at the point of off season, you want to be doing enhanced cycles in the off season too. I would wait until your menstrual cycle has regulated prior to doing that because a lot of times, more often than not, you will lose your menstrual cycle when enhanced. So you need to know that things are kind of functioning as they should before deciding to go that route as well.
Again, you put in exogenous hormones, that's going to cause a reaction, right? It's all about feedback loops. You know what I'm saying? So if your body's like, oh, I'm getting extra hormones, I can, like, it's kind of like, think of it like a vacation for your body. Like, let's say you get like a butler and they're like giving you shit. You're like, oh, I don't have to move my fat ass anymore. I could just to actually take a load off and rest. That's what exogenous hormones do, right? It's like your body's like, oh, I don't gotta work so hard. Fucking sick. And then things slow down. They get comfortable, right? So it's all about feedback loops. And I think it's important to understand that, especially if you are considering HRT, fucking birth control, and even if you're not on consistent HRT and TRT, using anabolic cycles like I was talking about, like things can shut down because it's just like communication, it's just crosstalk. Um, I do think it would also be really good to talk about like how we felt because that is something where it's like maybe doctors or insurance won't order labs. Maybe, God forbid, a coach doesn't learn how to read labs. Like, but these females are still suffering. Like, what are they going to be feeling and when their hormones are suppressed?
Want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Honestly, I had no sex drive. I could have cared less if the friggin' world shut down. I honestly just felt like kind of dead to everything. You have that like really even, nothing really phases you, even high highs, low lows. Like everything is just kind of, yeah, whatever, another day. And when you really start to recognize like, oh, okay, like good things are happening, I don't really care. Bad things are happening, I don't really care. Like you have to realize that is really not healthy to continue in a state like that. Um, and taking the time to correct those type of things is going to be well worth your efforts. Both the combination of doing it naturally and if you need to do it with a supported enhancement, then so be it too.
Mina, what about you?
Again, I've never really experienced the low testosterone side of things, but more so estrogen dominance with that progesterone being so low. Again, I was exhausted all the time, and like, no matter how much sleep I get, no matter how much time I take off from the gym, like every month that I was awake felt like a task. I didn't have interest in doing things. My mood swings were high. My anxiety and depression were at an all-time high. I had a hard time growing. I had a hard time losing weight. It's just I felt stuck. Um, I even had some hair thinning that was more so related to my thyroid downregulation, and like that HPA hypothalamus pituitary axis, but it wasn't a good time. And I had to come to terms with like, okay, I want to do a prep, but obviously my body is not in a place. I had terrible periods. I would bleed for God knows 14 days, and again, it could be TMI, but I would go through like a super heavy tampon and I'm like, okay, we're this isn't going right. And my doctor would not hold. I had to go and pay out of pocket for myself. And at that point, I had done enough research to figure out how to read it myself. And I ended up diagnosing, like, hey, so it's not right here.
So you know.
Just so you know, doctor, I have PCOS and my progesterone's super low. Could you possibly prescribe me something? And I did, like, I took a good bit of time to like use the chasteberry and take all the measures to like reduce cortisol and all those good things. I wanted to compete. I'm like, okay, let's expedite this process because I really also don't have time to continue feeling like shit every single day. So that was
Absolutely.
and gut
Absolutely.
I
issues.
would
I also want to point that out too. The gut
yeah.
issues, like my belly was bloated out with Timbuktu. I'm like, I look 8 months pregnant. This isn't cute, and just horrible gas. Couldn't digest anything.
Uh-huh.
Everything's connected. I think that that's usually you see both more often than not. Fuck, I was gonna say something, I don't remember. Oh, I would say at this, when you're starting to question these type of things, rather than waste, 3 months to get an appointment with your PCP, who then is going to send you to an endocrinologist, who is then going to debate the fact of labs being valid to do and blah 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 blah. Blah. Save yourself some fucking time. Spend $300 and get the labs done. Just go do it.
Or even that, if that like $300 is truly like out of reach, because again, like, while yes, you want to advocate for yourself, like again, let's not sit here and be like, it's not fucking expensive just to be
No, it
alive right
is.
now. Like, I have a questionnaire that I will send you for free. Literally, just DM me. I'm at the Ash Markham. I will send you a questionnaire and we can go through it together and figure out like what symptom seems to be the main driver, right? Like, I'd so much rather do that or offer a free consultation than for you to continue to have GI issues, no period, brain fog, that you feel like you're at the mercy of stress, that you have to drink like 5 frappadappuccinos just to feel anything. Like, all of these things like are not normal when it comes to the degree at which they are impacting your life. So if your hair is shit, your skin is shit, your gut is shit, like you're cold all the time, you can't emotionally regulate, you feel depressed, you're anxious, like those are signs, those are biofeedback signs that your body is trying to scream at you to help it. But if you don't sit your ass down and actually acknowledge that you're not as cool as you think you are, not as good as you think you are, like nothing is going to change. But like, here's the deal. If you are constantly on the go and trying to run away from these symptoms and these problems, nothing is going to get better. And in fact, you're probably going to get worse, which is why we see females developing autoimmune conditions at such a flamboyant rate. It is because your body doesn't know what fucking else to do. And so if everything's a problem, it's going to start attacking itself. It's going to go haywire, right? So it's like, stop it. Get some help. It's like that fucking Michael Jordan thing. Stop it. It's funny, but it's not funny.
True.
It's not funny.
And then I have a lot of young girls, and I think Laura, you probably do too. And it's just the rate at which they're all experiencing these same anxiety, depression, hormone downregulation, irregular periods. Again, I think it circles back to social media, but and circling back to my point of like, you have to acknowledge like you're not as cool as you think you are. Like, you're not awesome at handling stress, you're awesome at suppressing it, and your body is on fire, right? And
Yeah, it's like that one dog with the fire burning around. It's like, this is fine.
good. And like,
I'm good.
so many of my
I
girls
think
are in that situation when they come to me. Okay, been in your shoes. I thought I was good, and I wasn't. So let's break this down and process. It's usually like it takes a while for them to accept like it's okay to not be okay. Like you did a great job of haven't like your world's not falling apart, but like let's make it better. If you're like kind of to Laura's point of like something bad would happen, you wouldn't react. Like you are reacting internally. It's just your body attacking itself rather than you like just. So it's
Yeah. Yeah.
and
And to
when
conclude, because I know Laura's got to hop off soon, I think it's really important to understand that, like, your body, all it wants to do is keep you alive. And so, in one way, it's really encouraging to know that your body's still fighting for you. Because how many times have women been like, oh, my body fucking hates me? No, it doesn't. Your body doesn't hate you. right? Your body is trying to keep you alive in the best way that it knows how with what you are asking of it on a daily basis. That is the truth. That is the hard to swallow truth. So if your body is not doing okay, you need to ask why. What are you doing to it? What are you asking of it on a regular basis, and what are you not giving it? Right? I know this sounds very woo-woo and make-believe, and if I was listening to this back in 2019 when I was having my menstrual cycle dysfunction, I'd be like, these women have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. And here I am, 29, understanding what I asked of myself. And so while it is a very hard to swallow pill, once you swallow it, you can start to heal and course correct. But until then, things are going to remain the same and you're going to feel worse. But again, reach out to any one of us. Reach out to me. I will give you that questionnaire. We can set up a consultation. If you have questions on where to draw labs, like let us know and let us help, right? We have all been in your shoes. It is not something that is just normal. And it is something that is quite frankly solvable if you're willing to course correct and put in the time and work to correct it.
And that also doesn't mean in the process of that, you need to let your body go to shit either. That was like one of my biggest fears. And I know that someone out there is watching this and thinking, oh, thank fucking God, that's not the case. Because if someone had like had that reality with me and be like, that doesn't mean you need to blow up. That doesn't mean you need to like stop training completely and everything. You can still do the things you like moderately.
Yes, but you just also have to understand that it's gonna fucking take time. Like it took, like let's say it was 20 years of abuse. It's not gonna be fixed in a 2-month protocol. It's not. It's not. And I would argue that when you start to take yourself more seriously and stop ignoring these things, you're not only going to look better, but you're also going to start to feel better too. So while there might be in a case of extreme anorexia that you're going to need to put on some level of body fat, it doesn't mean you need to become morbidly obese. Again, extremes cause this issue. So it's not going to be fixed in extremes. It's going to be fixed with, dare I say, balance or maybe a reality check.
Homeostasis.
Homeostasis. Love it. Guys, happy Halloween. I love you, ladies. We'll catch you next week. Until then, bye.